Folks, it's that time of the year again. It's cold outside, but it's warm in our hearts because Christmas is approaching and we get to nerd out once again with Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which we've anticipated for the last 2 years now, ever since The Force Awakens dropped and it completely gave new life to the franchise and continues that story faithfully. So needless to say, this was one of the hypest movies of the year for me, and I'm so glad to say it did not disappoint me. Star Wars: The Last Jedi takes place right after The Force Awakens. Rey is starting her Jedi training under Luke. This is a non-spoiler review, just overview what you could get from the trailer. Rey starts her Jedi training and the First Order is closing in on the Resistance. They have a plethora of pilot battles, and it's not looking so good for the Resistance because all their usual tips and tricks that usually help them evade the First Order are not really working. The First Order is catching on all the myths while Kylo Ren is finally re-emerging himself in the darkness, and it becomes a whole idea who's gonna turn. They really explore the idea of the Force. There's the dark and the light side, but maybe there should be balance. Maybe the old way of things isn't the best way. And that's what this movie starts off getting to. And oh my goodness, this movie's incredible. First of all, oh my goodness, the visuals. The visuals, not just the visual effects, but the cinematography. This movie is shot masterfully. There are so many sequences. The island that Rey is training on, the sweeping camera shots, the overheads, the bird's eye views. This movie looks incredible. This movie is just a top-notch cinematography and visual-wise. If it was not for Blade Runner 2049 coming out in the same year, this movie would easily be the best looking movie all year. I absolutely loved the visuals. I was so immersed in each different world. There's so many just marvelous set pieces of beaches and deserts and sky fighter battles. Everything that you loved about the previous two Star Wars movies, Force Awakens and Rogue One, the lightsaber battles, the visuals, and the sound effects, the TIE fighter battles look amazing, and everything as far as technical elements, this movie has down-packed. Another thing that's awesome about The Force Awakens is that The Force Awakens, I'm still on that hype train apparently, that's weird. The Last Jedi, the second thing that's awesome about The Last Jedi is that it faithfully continues the story that we anticipated from The Force Awakens. It feels like a worthy sequel. They build on the themes that were present in the last movie and they take the characters in new directions. Although I wasn't a fan of all the directions those new decisions were headed in, but I'll touch on that later, it still felt like a worthy sequel, and I felt like they were expanding on the loose plot threads and hints that they dropped in The Force Awakens. That was awesome seeing. But what would be a plot without good characters? The characters are amazing in this movie. First of all, Daisy Ridley as Rey is great. She does, just like Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, they both do such a good job of just showing the conflict and the confusion that's going on within them, and that they don't know, they're not fully trained in their Force powers. They don't know what direction to go. Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley's performance in this movie are great. They were very nuanced. You could really tell they're struggling to figure out what's going on. They're trying to help each other figure it out in that sense, but no spoilers, of course. They worked great together. Unlike some other characters in this movie that get a back seat. But I loved all the actors in their roles. John Boyega once again reprises his role as Finn. He is great. He's energetic. You always root for him. He was great. Oscar Isaac back as Poe Dameron, the cocky fighter pilot. Great time watching him on screen. Also, Carrie Fisher. Rest in peace. Great seeing her once again as Leia. And just overall, I cannot talk about the cast as a whole without giving a huge shout out to Mark Hamill returning as Luke Skywalker after all these years. Force Awakens doesn't really count, but Mark Hamill nailed it as Luke. Sort of like The Force Awakens, how they brought Harrison Ford back and it felt like it was very much the spirit of Han, not just Harrison Ford coming back to play an old guy that was supposed to be Han Solo. Mark Hamill, both huge shout out to both the screenwriter and the actor for bringing the character of Luke back to life. You could really see that this is the same Luke Skywalker that you knew and loved from the old movies, but just he's older and he's wiser, he's seen some crap, and he's really changed his views on just the Force and the Jedi and how they interact and their role in all of that. Mark Hamill was awesome as Luke Skywalker, had some of the best scenes in the movie. I absolutely loved the performances, story, visuals, all around. And of course, it's a Star Wars movie and it does such a good job of expanding on that lore. It feels like a true Star Wars experience, from the lightsaber battles to the TIE fighters, just to the brilliant score once again. I loved this movie. It felt like a true Star Wars sequel to Force Awakens. It is one of the best Star Wars movies ever made. Top 3, I'd say around the top 3 easily right off the bat. But at the same time, I gotta say, this movie has its issues. Do not hold your blaster fire. I clearly like the movie, but that's not to say that I didn't have some problems with it also. First of all, the second act is kind of a pace buster. The second act, the first third or so of towards the second act of the movie, it's very slow in that the movie finally picks up the movie's runtime is divided in that you spend a lot of time with Rey and Luke starting their interactions, her Jedi training, but it also cuts back to the Resistance. Finn makes a new friend, and they basically they go off on this side quest to try to sabotage the tracker and basically deal with the First Order. Finn has his side quest, Rey has her main quest that feels like the true continuity and plot of the movie, and while I love the actor, Finn or Leia for that matter, did not get as much to do. His side quest, specifically involving a casino and tracking down, felt very video game-like. We gotta find this person to help us do this thing, and they'll take us through a casino, and we'll do this and that. That really felt like a pace buster. It was a very slow portion of the movie, and a lot of that was due to the companion that they gave Finn. Her name was Rose or something like that. I didn't like her. She wasn't a very likable character. She was driven and she was fun in what she had to do, but she wasn't really that likable, and she was a bad companion for Finn in that little side quest. That kind of second act kind of threw off the pacing for me, and I was like, can we get back to the Rey and Luke and Jedi stuff? Because I am 100% in for that. That was just a little bit of an issue for me. But apart from that, there are some character decisions that I didn't like in this movie. There are some moments in this movie where they're like, what? They don't explain this. That doesn't make sense. A lot of characters in The Force Awakens and plot threads, no spoilers of course, but some plot threads in The Force Awakens that were built up and hyped up, and a lot of characters you're like, oh man, they mean business. This is going to be something crazy. I can't wait to see what happens. They just kind of deal with it and wrap it up in a bow and just kind of say, yeah, it's just like this. This happens. And you're like, okay, I thought that was going to be a lot bigger deal than this actually was. I don't know how I feel about that. But besides those random character decisions that kind of seemed off the wall, and a second act that was kind of bogged down pacing-wise, The Last Jedi is a masterpiece of a movie and a Star Wars flick. If you absolutely love The Force Awakens or any other Star Wars movie, definitely check this out. It is one of the best movies of the year, one of my favorites, but it still has a couple of those things that hold it down. Regardless, I had a great time, and I'm going to give Star Wars The Last Jedi 4 out of 5 stars, one of my favorite movies of the year, and I definitely look forward to seeing it again. Thanks so much for watching this review. I am Pac. Thanks for hearing my perspective. If you like this video, please share, like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate all these things. I love personal feedback. Thanks for watching once again, and I'm out for now.